Go for it.
We're here today at the Mary L. Cook Public Library, Waynesville, Ohio. Today is February 8, 2008. We're speaking today with Alex Gamber.
Gamber, right.
Okay, and Alex, if you would just give us a little bio on your early history and where you're from and all that, your family.
Originally born in Wallingford, England,
Okay.
and came to the United States in 1959, became a citizen in 1960, and went from an English school to an American school. And the memory I have at that time when I was about 6 years old was going to first grade in an American school. I've never been to an American school before, and I was sitting there, and the kids would raise their hands and ask the teacher, "Can I be excused to go to the restroom?" And I didn't know what that was all about, you know, and I thought, well, another kid raised his hand and said the same thing, "Can I be excused to go to the restroom?" She said, "Yes, go ahead." And then when he came back, I raised my hand, and I thought, well, this is pretty nice. If you get tired of school, where you can take a rest, you know? So what I did, I raised my hand. I said, "Can I be excused to go to the restroom?" I had my English accent. I was like, "Oh, may I be excused to go to the restroom, please?" And the teacher said, "Yes, you may." So I walked out the classroom and went down the hall, and I went past this open door, and I had a big couch in there. So I went in there, and I jumped up on the couch, and I just kind of laid down on the couch. And a teacher came by and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm resting. This must be the restroom." And he said, "Please come with me." So I went with him, and he opened the door, and it was the bathroom. And "This is not a rest. Where do you rest here?" "You can't rest here." But that was my first experience with American schools. But I learned pretty quick. But anyway, so that was up in Marquette, Michigan. And then my father was in the Air Force, so and my mom, of course, tagged along, and I did, of course. And we were in Michigan until 1961. We went to Germany, Frankfurt, Rhine-Main, Germany. And so we flew from 61, we were there from 61 to 63. And then he got transferred to South Ruislip in London. So in London from 63 to 66. And then I was back to the United States at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, where I attended high school and graduated from Belmont High School in 1971, drafted in 1971, and ran down from the Army I went to my Army physical, which was a hilarious day. Because at that time, you know, it was the anti-war demonstrations, and so I got my draft notice. I went down to the Army recruiting station for my physical, and just some of the people, their antics, dressed up as, some of the guys were dressed up as women. They were doing hearing tests, and they wouldn't respond at all. I can't hear anything. What'd you say? I can't hear. See, so they just trying to get out of the Army, and I just remember just laughing so hard and just seeing all the antics they were trying to get out. Not everybody's trying to get out, but you know, it was just humorous. So I thought, well, I'm going to go down to the Navy, because the Navy is on ships, and they don't go into the jungle. So, but I didn't think about the PT boats, you know, that were running along the Mekong Delta and all that sort of thing. But so I went down and joined the Navy. Went to Great Lakes, Illinois, in 1971, September, and went to Great Lakes, Illinois for the electronics school, and then down to Key West, Florida. Actually, I had, of course, boot camp. And I was on the drill team in the boot camp. And this is my boot camp book right here, the Keel. And it's kind of neat because they got different pictures of, you can see the barracks there, you can see all the people marching, we all march. But I was on the drill team there where we did precision drills. And that 3 weeks after my initial arrival at boot camp, we went out every weekend for precision drill competition throughout the state of Illinois. And we were in the 1971 Chicago Fire Centennial Parade. And I remember marching down State Street through this parade and hearing the announcer saying, "Now these these boys have been in boot camp only 3 weeks. Let's give them a round of applause, you know, and everybody's clapping, I think. And we're just, you know, got our helmets on and our 1916 Springfield rifles. We're twirling them around and marching. But I tell you what, to get to that point, we had like 14 hours of drill every day. And one of the things we had to do in our drill training was we had to smack ourselves on our butts at the end of each drill. So it was like, you know, everybody has like a snap, 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 and then you get a whack, you know. And we had to, and at the end of every day, we almost had to drop our pants. And the drill instructor would say, go along and say, okay, everybody has a bruise, that's good. The ones that have bruises can stay in it. And I think it was like 80 guys that were tried out for the drill team, only 20 were chosen. So I managed to get into the drill team, which was good because after 3 weeks in boot camp, we were out doing those competitive drills, and at the end of the competition, the veterans organizations would invite us over to the veterans clubs, the VFWs, and they would give us beer, you know, and they say, "You guys are old enough to die. You're old enough to drink," and I'd say, 2 thumbs up. So anyway, so we and so every week we go drilling at the competition drill and going to these different veterans organizations. And we didn't get plastered. Of course, when you're young, you're away from mom and dad. You know, boy, I get to do what I want. Well, you can't do what you want, but have a drink, have a smoke. But I never really did smoke, but I always enjoyed the beer. And so graduated from Great Lakes and went to Ocean Systems School back in Great Lakes, electronics school, and then oceanography school in Key West, Florida. And I was down there for 4 months, and that was during the 1972 presidential time, I guess, race. And I think George Wallace was running for president at the time, and he was pretty much a racist. And he was shot by Arthur Bremer, I think. And prior to it, he was coming down to Florida, but he was shot somewhere. Arthur Bremer, I think, was the assassin or the shooter. And then riots broke out in Key West, so they had to lock down the base. And it was a kind of a strange time. You could hear gunfire going off. Like you'd hear pop, 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 then you hear boom, and then you hear no pop, pop, pops anymore. So you figure the guy had the bigger gun, took the other guy out. But anyway, so at that time. That was between January and I think March of 1972. And then I graduated from Ocean Systems School and as an oceanographer, which is like a cover, from what my real job was, because everything was super secret back then. It's a top secret, high classified rate, they call it, Ocean Systems. And what that means is that we were to hunt submarines. We were submarine hunters. And so what the Navy has is listening devices in the ocean called arrays. And they're passive listening devices. So they don't emit, like sonar emits a signal and comes back. But they would pick up sounds in the ocean. Everything that goes around and around generates frequency. And through all the frequencies on a submarine, everything going around and around, like the cavitation of the propellers on a submarine would create little air bubbles, and that would create a frequency. Depending on you've seen behind speedboats when you go racing, all that wake behind the speedboat, that's cavitation. And it would, I guess, generate a frequency there. The turning of the shaft on the propeller would be another frequency. The captain's, the shaver has a frequency. Everything has different frequencies in the submarines, and different submarines have different frequencies, so they can identify the type of submarine that's on in the ocean by they call them signatures. And so that's what I learned in Key West. And then I was in 1973 transferred to Iceland from Key West, Florida. So you can imagine the severe weather change, no oceans. I mean, there's the oceans, but just like super cold North Sea. You know, Iceland, you always think like desolate ice, but it's really a very beautiful country. At that time, they call it was a NATO base that we were at, and we were landing in Iceland, and was looking out the window, and I said, where's the runway? I mean, it looked like we're landing on rocks everywhere. It was just volcanic rock, you know. But we landed in Keflavik, and that's where the NATO base was. Reykjavik is the capital of Iceland, and Iceland is known for their beautiful women and their blonde hair, blue eyes, because they're descendants of the Vikings. And the men, they're monsters. They're just huge guys. You know, I took tour buses, and you know how you sit up on a tour bus. These guys would be walking by the tour bus and be looking right at you as you're in your seat. You know, the thing is, they were big, but they were slow. So you always outrun them if you're, you know, out with a girlfriend, you're in trouble. But I could always outrun them. So that was a good thing. So in Iceland, the time I was there, Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky had their World Chess Championship. So naturally, everybody in Iceland was playing chess, and Bobby Fischer, I think he lost one of his first matches, and he was a very eccentric type of guy. He just recently passed away. But one morning, it was probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, we were over to the cafeteria, it was a bowling alley cafeteria, like a USO sort of deal there, and it was open all the time. And Bobby Fischer was sitting there with his handheld chess thing, and he was pondering his moves, you know, and he was kind of, you know, a guy that was always, you know, by himself. He didn't really like to be bothered, you know. But me being young and dumb, I went over there. I said, "Sorry, Mr. Fischer, sorry to hear about your loss today, but hey, I was wondering on your chess moves, how many moves ahead do you think?" You know, 'cause I said I usually think about 1 or 2 moves, and he's looking at there. He looks up. He goes, 65. 65 moves ahead. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so I said, well, hey, we're going to go bowling right next door. If you want to take a break, why don't you join us? You know. And so he just kept looking at it. He goes, oh, okay. So anyway, we all went over to the bowling alley, and about 10 minutes later, here he comes, and he wants to bowl. You know, actually, Bobby Fischer bowled pretty good. And I think I bowled like a 180. I think that's not too bad. He bowled over a 200. I don't know what he was doing, but he would bowl. And the thing is, he wouldn't really converse with you. You know, he'd bowl, but he wouldn't do any high fives, that sort of thing. It was just strictly bowling, you know. So, but it was my encounter with Bobby Fischer. So, but anyway, so in Iceland, you know, my job was ocean systems technician, and I was also on the photography detail where I would show victory at sea movies about World War II, you know, battles and stuff. So I would always be setting up at the U.S. Naval facility to show those movies, and those are really good movies. If you ever get a chance, watch those Victory at Sea movies. They're great. And you can get them on DVD or the libraries probably have them. But anyway, in 1970, I think it was end of probably 73, 72, 73. I'm trying to think now. It's probably 1973 that the Russians had a big armada, like a submarine armada, went down from not Murmansk, but I can't remember that pronunciation. Vladivostok or something like that. It's a big Russian military base, submarine base, and they would deploy their submarines down in the U.S. And in Iceland, we were the first. We were like really the show boat of the whole. They call them SOSUS systems. It's a sound. It's a special. Analogy for a certain terminology that was really top secret back then, so nobody really knew about it. If you're interested in SOSUS, there's a book out that just came out this year called A Scorpion Down, and it tells all about the SOSA system. I guess they declassified a lot of that stuff now, but anyway, so all Russian submarines are going down from Russia down to off the coast of the United States. And what the Russians did, of course we alerted, the whole system that the Russians were coming, Russians are coming. And they deployed all their submarines down there to 200 miles off surrounded the entire United States with ballistic missile submarines. And, that was a pretty tense time because they could have blown up the whole country, Of course, the Americans had their submarines out there too. They had the skipjack fast attack submarines, and they would, of course, be playing their cat and mouse games where they would go up underneath the submarine, and photograph the exterior of the sub, and they were a lot quieter than the Russian submarines. The Russians, they had problems with their nuclear reactors leaking. There was submarines that actually had killed the entire crew, and I think one of those still rests at the bottom of the North Sea. So at that time, when we detected the submarines, we were in charge of tracking them and making sure that all the Navy operations knew exactly where each one was located, so they could hopefully blow them out of the water before they blew us out. Of course, all it takes is one push of the button. Seconds, all the missiles were up. So it was kind of an exciting time.
What kind of ship were you on?
Well, I get seasick, so I wasn't on any ship.
So
it was a naval facility.
You were on a base.
Right. Now, what I would do, we would, of course, detect the submarines. Then we would send the information over to the P-3 Orion hunter-killer groups, and that was where the aircraft. It's a special aircraft. It's called P-3 Orion. And they had like a Stinger gear in the back. It was that big old Stinger, like a bee stinger. And they would drop hydrophones, which pick up sounds, and it would relay the sounds back to the Stinger gear. And they'd have like mini versions of the SOSUS equipment that would print out the signature just to tell them the type of submarine. But a lot of the submarines that operated in those areas that we detected had support ships with them. So what I would do is I would work my shift. It was like 2 days, 2 mids, and 2 eves, and I'd be off for like 3 days. And when I got for 3 days, I would go out on a P-3 Orion mission, usually about 14 hours. And on one mission, we were briefed that there was a submarine. It was a November-class Russian submarine with 2 support ships that were operating off ice. And so we hopped on the plane, and it's kind of a bumpy ride, and I get seasick anyway, so I'm kind of, But anyway, we get out there on site, and we picked up those Kreska class guided missile frigates, and so we're coming in towards them about 500 feet off the ocean, and the waves are splashing up on the windshield of the airplane. And the propellers are special propellers that they could twist the pitch of the blade so that it could, I guess you could go low and go fast, but it would keep you maybe even a little bit quieter, perhaps, keep you aloft, with you could go slower or faster, depending on the angle of the blade. Probably the quieter the blade, the slower you get, But anyway, I'm not pilot, you can tell. So anyway, so we're coming up on these Kreska class frigates, and you go right to the ship, and it would actually buzz the ship. So you go up, and then you spin it around. And when we were spinning around, I looked at those missiles, and all those missiles on all the ships were just following us around. I said, they're not going to fire on us, will they? He goes, no, we've done this plenty of times. And I said, well, what happened if they fire on us? Well, you don't have to worry about it, And then I said, well, if this plane crashes, well, these planes are designed to explode on impact. And he said that we don't want any of the Russians to find any pieces of equipment that they can use. So this whole airplane is set to just become just a piece of dust. And I was thinking, oh well, I can't land in the ocean. So that was the only mission I was on, and but anyway, it was kind of neat because we took photographs of the frigates, and we detected the submarine, and you could, we never did see the submarine, but it was down there. So what else? So that was my exciting time in Iceland. I was there for a little over a year, and the wind would howl. The wind was always blowing there. The snow never came down; it would always come straight across on waves. And
Is the weather comparable to Alaska, or?
I've never been to Alaska, but I don't know how windy it is there, and it could possibly be. I know with the wind, you get, I think I got like 70 below zero, and it was definitely an experience, because they had railings going to each building that you had to hold on to, and one time I didn't get hold on, I get blown right across the road, went flying into like a 15-foot crevice, and I had to claw my way out. And of course, I had my parker on, and I wasn't really too worried about it. But that's the first time I ever flew without it, and the airplane just flew right on. It was a strong wind. Iceland is a beautiful country. A lot of waterfalls, and when I was there, the Vestmannaeyjar Islands a volcano erupted, so we had to do an evacuation of the locals there. And so we fly in and on helicopters, there'd be soot and ash flying all over the place, and then the lava would come right down the road, and so we had to get in there and get out. But that was a neat experience too.
How many people did you have to evacuate?
It wasn't that many. I think it was about 300, and it was just a small. There was a series of islands through there. But, yeah, it was interesting. Some people didn't want to go. Of course, there's no guarantees that their house would be there, because some of the homes are already buried in lava. I don't know today if those are still active or not. But, that was a few years ago. So, in fact, the Flags of Our Fathers, filmed by Clint Eastwood, that was the Battle of Okinawa.
It was filmed there?
Yeah, well, it was filmed there on those beaches.
Okay.
But, the water is so chilly there. It's amazing that they did that. And the sand is not, it's a black sand, so you wonder. I think it was, I think the Flags of Our Fathers was Iwo Jima. That's what they were trying to recreate. So maybe the landings, beach landings, that's what they did. But that was a neat time to be up there then too. And but anyway, I was in Iceland until the middle of 1973, a little over a year, and I was transferred to Bermuda. So which was really nice. So I went to Bermuda, and I ended up staying in Bermuda for the last probably 2 years of my enlistment. And in Bermuda, it was just I tried to represent the Navy in the best traditions on the beach. We had some hurricanes down there, but the same thing again, just the listing of the submarines, and they would do time trials for the American submarines. The new classes come out, and so we did that. But I got really tan. It took me 2 years to lose my tan. And I was darker than some of the locals down there. So, and living off base, and had my motorcycle, and everything in the Navy that I was involved in was very top secret. It was everything was very serious, and that being so serious, it kind of got to me, and so one in Bermuda, I was dating the captain's daughter, so that's why I had to enroll there. And what I had done is my roommate Dale Dressel, he was off partying somewhere, and we lived off base, and I had collected all these bullfrogs. And they, in Bermuda, they have big frogs. And on the top of their heads was like a diamond shape. And so I got those frogs, and I put them in the bathtub. But before I did that, I took some like paint, and I painted each diamond a different color. And I had him in the bathtub, and he came in, and he opened that. He jumped in the shower, and he started screaming. and I said, "Why my frogs?" Anyway, I got them all out of there, put them in a box, and I had to go to work, so I took those frogs to work. And in that top secret facility, you know, the Marines stop you and they say, "Well, what do you have in the box?" "Well, I've got frogs." "Frogs?" I said, "Yeah, this is for a top secret experiment. I can't tell you what it is." He goes, "Oh, okay, all right." So anyway, I got there before the shift changed. You know, different shifts changed. I got there probably about half an hour. And on the naval facility in Bermuda, there's 3 floors, but the second floor is just for maintenance. You know, you got the operations in the bottom, and you got the maintenance on the second floor, which is only probably about 4 feet high. And then you had the operations on the very top. You know, administrator at the bottom, operations on the top. And they had like trap doors that would pop open from the second floor. You know. And so what I did, I got these like those creepers that mechanics used. I had this box of frogs laying on my chest, and I wheeled underneath a trap door, and I waited, you know, and I waited for the captain to come up for you always hear, "Attention on deck," everybody, you know, and then of course everybody has their back to that trap door, and the machines that you watch, SOSUS machines that you watch, kind of hide the trap door, you know. So attention on deck, so everybody paying attention to the captain. I pop up out of that thing, and I dump all those frogs in there, get back down close the door, race to the elevator, go down to the administrative office, and I run into the captain's office, and I sit there and wait, and I hear it getting louder and louder. "I want a full investigation. I want a full investigation. What's going on here? Those damn frogs everywhere." And I said, I jumped down and said, "Captain, yes sir." He goes, "Gamber, get out of here. Get out of here." I said, "What's going on?" "Get out of here, Gamber." And I said, "Yes sir." So I go up there, and they got frogs there that jump all over the place, and they're trying. Some of these guys have got these frogs there, and they're racing. so yeah, so they were having a ball with those frogs. And, you know, they probably I thought they got all the frogs, but they still found frogs probably about a week later that were jumping around there. So, but that was, and I wrote that story for the Dane Daily News, and they reprinted it, and there's that frogs kept them jumping. Yeah, so that was kind of I kind of lightened up everybody. But eventually, it finally came out that I had done that, and so to any animal that showed up there, you know, like a snake or something like that, they'd say, "Petty Officer Gamber, please report to the captain's office." And so the captain, you know, he knew I was dating his daughter, and so he had, you know, attention there. He said, "Gamber, Petty Officer Gamber, you amaze me." And I said, "Why do?" He goes, not like that, not with my daughter. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "You amaze me between that. You walk that fine line between court-martial and being in trouble. You're always..." and I said, "Well, thank you, sir." He goes, "Carry on." And I salute him, get out of there. But anyway, so I always had, you know, you need to lighten up every once in a while, you know.
And did you end up with his daughter?
Well, at that time in my life, yeah. Of course, I had to. She was a nice girl. You know, I played the guitar, and I was in a little band there, so we played, you know, and around the clubs and stuff. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time, because when you're young, you know, you don't think about, you know, down the road that much. You know, I never did. It seemed like, you know, just wanted to get out of the Navy, and after my service, and go to school, and that's when I got discharged in 1975 and went to Sinclair Community College in Dayton, Ohio. Graduated from there in '77. I was going to transfer to Wright State, but I got a job at United Parcel Service, UPS, and I've been there for 31 years. Gosh, 31 years. I'm not that old. So, but
So what do you think, aside from the chance to get to see different places and all of that, what benefit or non-benefit from your time in the service?
well, of course, the GI Bill was a benefit. You know, I had that paid for my college. You know, and you know, of course, you make a lot of friends. But I tell everybody that in the service today, or you know, the way to track those people is by their social security numbers. You know, because a lot of guys, you kind of you forget their names. You know, and it's if you want to really keep track of your friends there, because you know you talk about your day of last day in the service, and they had a like end of enlistment date or countdown number, you know, and people yell, how many days you got left, you know, and all that stuff. So, and you know, I kept in touch with some of the guys, and the guy from Bermuda, Bob Boger, he's up in Michigan, runs a bus company up there, and he calls me occasionally, and we played soccer together, and baseball, and all that sort of thing. So, and that was in Bermuda, and but those years passed quick. Before you know it, you're old. And here I am, talking about those good old days. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the feeling, since you were during that Vietnam era time, how you felt accepted, or did you get to come home on leave sometimes? How were you?
Yeah, well, you see, I went, me being born in England, I had a lot of relatives in England and Scotland. Actually, my mom was Scottish, and so I spent, you know, time in Scotland on New Year's, and with my grandpa and my grandma, and it was nice to go around in that different time of year when people knock on your door and say Happy New Year, and they would offer you a drink, and if you didn't drink it, then that was an insult. So, you know, you'd be sloshed, get right in your own home right there. You know, people come in there and offer you a glass of whiskey, but you know, I'm not a big drinker. You know, I think today I might have a glass of wine occasionally, you know. But anyway, so that was nice then. Yeah, of course, my sisters back in the States, I never really went to visit them that much, you know. My mom and dad, I did occasionally, but I think my dad was stationed in Europe, and in London, so I had a chance to just go down and see him and my mom. And what I liked was, you know, he would drive on the left-hand side of the road in London, you know, in England, and he'd drive like he knew what he was doing, you know, and all those roundabouts, you know, around and around and around, and that always amazed me, you know, because and it really, it's not that bad, because in Bermuda you drive on the left side of the road too, but I was on a motorcycle, and I did get to drive a couple military vehicles on the left side of the road, and when your steering wheel's on the right side of the car, driving on the left side of the road is not that bad. So, you know, but you think about it, you know, it seems like it'd be kind of tough, but it wasn't really. But being in Bermuda about 2 years, I was in 8 motorcycle accidents in 2 years. So thank God for hard helmets and hard heads. I don't call them out. Oh, I got another accident. Are you okay? Yeah, my head's still together. And so I mean, the helmets really saved me, but just stupid stuff, you know, like being going too fast, and somebody cutting you off, and then you fly off the bike, you go bouncing down the road, and I always had road rash somewhere. So.
So you served part of the time the same time as your father.
Yeah.
Was he in like a lifer?
He's a lifer, yes, he was. Yeah, I retired after 4 years. So that was my time. Did my 2 years reserve, and that was it.
Did you have other siblings that were in the military, or?
My sister Susan was in the Air Force,
Okay.
and she was like a dental hygienist. So I think she only stayed on, probably one term and was out. I don't know, my dad was bossing her around. He liked to, I don't know if he liked to do that, but, you know, of course, he was a senior master sergeant, had so many stripes there, and I wondered where they stopped, you know, because they had to get the military stripes, then you get the service stripes here, you know. So he was a zebra.
Well, what else do we need to cover about your time in the military?
You know, well, you see, even during the Vietnam era, there was people who had fun. So, you know, I'm not downplaying that was a bad time, military-wise. I'm just happy that I never had, I guess, fortune of being in the jungle and fighting an unseen enemy. That was, you know, so I really, you know, feel for those guys that did that. And it was just, you know, probably, I don't know, it's just been a tough time, I think. But there's different aspects of the military. The guys that are trained to kill, you know, we're all trained to do that. In boot camp, they strip you down, they break you down. If you think that you know it all and you're the tough, mean guy, the boot camp will take all that out of you and rebuild you into just the machine that they want. So I think I was a pretty good shooter. I mean, the marksman there, and so I guess I shouldn't have hit the target. I can remember just shooting, you know, 45. It was a 45, and hearing a bullet ricochet, and it hit the car right next to his dad. And the bullet just kind of bounced off. I made a little dent there. I said, well, that would have hurt. It got me, you know. But, yeah, it was a war that many people died. Now, I know with the Iraqi war going on now, there's so many thousands of men that have died. But you know, in one day, that many people died. You know, 3,000, 4,000. The Tet Offensive in 1968. Just you know, I talked to Vietnam veterans, you know, that were there at that time, and they asked me when I was there. I said, well, I was never really in Vietnam, but I was, you know, serving at that time. And or if I didn't tell them that, they said, when were you there? I said 1971. And they would say, well, we were winning the war when I was there. They were losing it when you got there. I said, thank you for your service. So, yeah. So.
Did you have personal friends that served in combat?
Well, actually, my dad was in Saigon,
Okay.
you know, and you know, he got, you know, of course, you got all people running around there blowing up stuff. So he I think he only had a little firefight going. He was going from like Saigon to, you know, to a different location there. So, but you never know. It's like those roadside bombs, you know.
Right.
So he just lucked out there. Never really, no friends that like high school or that I think from thinking of that really served. We got killed. So I mean, there was some that served, but they survived. So.
And so you came back to the general area where you graduated high school and all that, and then do you have a family now?
Yes, I do. I think I was married. My first marriage, my second marriage. So I think it keeps you young, because that way you have a family that grows up, and then you have another family that grows up. So now I have a 16-year-old boy and a 13-year-old daughter. My wife's 5 years younger than me. So see, now my birthday's next week. I'll be 55. And you know, in fact, before I came here, I did my aerobic class at Bowlings, and there's only 2 guys in the class, so I highly recommend the guys, if they enjoy women, jumping all over the place, go take your Bowlings course and then do an aerobic. Step aerobics is fun, but I'm like one of the girls there, you know, because they all know me. I've been taking it for years, and of course my wife, she always accuses me. I know why you go to those classes. The thing is, you got to concentrate on those moves. You know, step aerobics, you turn around, you're stepping all over the place. you get the guys that come in there for one time and they end up falling or tripping, and then we don't see them without. They're outside the classroom, which is probably safer for them. But if you're in there, it's a good workout. It's a good workout. So so my wife's name's Peggy. Paul, 16, Emily, 13, and of course my other son, Alex Jr. He's 31, I think, and he's just graduated from dental school. So he moves in with his father-in-law, Dr. McKay, in Oakwood, and starts his practice. But he he got a blue chip scholarship to the Air Force Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And I took him out there, and he lasted about 2 days on the discipline they were instilling into him. So it was a tough time. He spent all through high school. You go through a procedure with your congressman and teachers to be a certain grade level. So he was an honor student and graduated with honors, and did that with through high school. So then he was in the Air Force Academy, and I could tell he was in trouble because the new recruits are standing in line for the buses there in Colorado, and the guys walking down there saying, "What are you smiling at, boy?" You think it's going to be a happy time? Forget it. you know how those drill instructors are. That's cracking up. And but anyway, he decided to want to do that, and that was kind of a tough time. But he went back to school, graduated from University of Dayton with honors, and then I went to Ohio State for 5 more years, and so he got in school. So it's quite a. And he got married in the interim to a girl that I knew years and years ago. She was a little girl, because her family, Dr. McKay, he was my dentist, and I used to deliver to their house all the time. And I played the piano too, and I'd go over to the house and I played the piano with Dr. McKay. And her name was Mary, still is Mary. But now they've had, I think, 3 kids now, so a grandpa, and I couldn't be happier with his choice of a lady. Very, very pretty girl, very smart, a little bit older than Alex, but it's her way or the highway, and he understands that. So that's the way my wife is too. It's her way or the highway. So.
Is there anything else that you'd like to mention before we end today?
Well, I didn't bore anybody with my military career, but it was an honor to serve, and it's nice that the veterans and organizations get, I guess, accumulate information on veterans, and keeps it in video or in book forms. I know at RMY, MCA, they have Dorothy runs the veterans recognition every year, and she does a great job. And it's funny to see some of the guys that I go to church with that are on the board, and I know some of the guys say that doesn't look like you. That nose isn't even yours. And I said that's a digital picture. They enhanced it. So anyway, so it's nice that there's organizations that keep the memories alive. So which is really neat. And the United States has been very good to me. A dual citizen, in England. You wonder how your life would have been if I grew up in England. But I appreciate the America and the people, and the tolerance that they have, the patience they have. But this time now, a time of war again, there's almost some sort of conflict in the world. So whether it be like genocide in Chad, where you just can't step back and just let that happen. You have to step in, and somebody's got to take the initiative. So America does that a lot of times, and they get slammed for it, but it's, I think in the long run, it shows a lot of character and a lot of heart. So that's what I think America's about: freedom and the love of their fellow man. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Did I talk too much?
No, not at all.
Oh.
Let me see if I can find the button.